favorite quotes is from a guy by the name of Rudolph Flesch. You guys heard of him? Yes? What do you know him for?
Just heard the name.
Just heard the name? He was a writer, and he, in his day, promoted teaching reading through phonics rather than sight, which was kind of novel at that time. So I consider him a creative thinker. And today, that's what I want to speak to you on, is creativity and coming up with design ideas for landscape. Okay? His quote that he said was, "Creative thinking may simply be the realization that there is no significant virtue in doing things the way they've always been done." Now, I must consider myself creative because upon completing a presentation similar to this to the Burley Master Gardener chapter, I threw away my notes. So when Tony called and asked if I would give a similar presentation here, I said, sure. But in reality, yours is completely different and new. I don't even have the notes from last time. It's all new. It's my own thinking, and I like it that way. That's what I want to do continually. I learn from my previous lessons and just make them better next time. I don't reuse stuff every time. And so you're getting a whole new fresh look. And that's fortunate for you because they were the guinea pigs and they fell asleep. That meeting was held in a nursing home with floral wallpaper in a tight little warm room, and we didn't have a projector, fun things to work with or write with, so people just kind of fell asleep. And I hope that doesn't happen today. We'll be a little more active in here. So I'm going to start off with a question. I want you to raise your hand if you feel like you fit this category. How many of you consider yourself to be creative? That's good, the majority of you. For those that didn't consider yourself creative, why? Can you tell me why? Okay. Okay. Who else didn't raise your hand? Right there? Why do you not creative?
I have a hard time coming into it.
Okay. So there's a little bit of intimidation. Don't know where to start. Would rather let somebody else handle that part of it, right? So these are some limitations that we have that kind of stifle our creativity. If you want to consider that, some people don't care that they're not creative, and that's okay. But what I want to do today is I've designed a little experiment that will prove that you are all creative. Okay? I'm going to prove it. Yes, Dan, you can participate. Okay, I'll give you the instructions, and then I will give you 5 minutes to complete your drawing. You're going to start on the drawing with the box around it, and you'll have 5 minutes to turn that drawing into something else. Doesn't matter what it is, just turn it into something else. Okay?
So we're supposed to do that on
Yeah, I gave you the 11 by 17 just for something to draw on because these tables are kind of bumpy and just helps your line work. Just a pad. So yes, eventually you can do a paper airplane, but not just a second. You ready? Okay, start. now only have 4 minutes to complete that drawing. And your time starts now.
This to this.
Okay, stop. Now turn to the one with the box on it. How many of you drew only within the box? It's okay to admit. About half. The rest of you decided that that box wasn't necessary, right? You just went outside that box. Hence the term thinking outside the box. Okay? Don't feel bad if you didn't, because the second drawing had no box, right? Did your drawing on the second one then have a solid edge on it? Or is it kind of just open and you added to it as you needed to? So see, when the boundaries are removed, when the barriers to creativity are removed, people can do a lot of things. Your mind no longer has those limitations. But everybody has that potential in them. Sometimes it's fear or a choice not to tap into that potential. And what I want to share with you are the 3 requirements for being creative, in my opinion. Number 1, you must create something new. Did you guys do that? Did you create something that didn't previously exist? Check. Number 2, that new thing which you create has to be unexpected. Or unplanned for, etc. Let me show you the only thing that I could have expected out of your drawing. The second sheet started like this. And here's my version of that same shape being turned into something else. Okay?
You took longer than 4 minutes.
It took more like 8, yeah. But that's the only thing I could have expected, right? Because that's how my mind worked. That's what I expected out of the drawing. Now, if I had given you a form that was mostly looked like a face and you drew a face, then that would kind of be expected, right? But these didn't look like faces, and you guys created faces out of it that I didn't see. Okay? So, check. Unexpected. Now, the third and probably the hardest one for artists and people who are creative is that thing that you create that's new, that is also unexpected, also has to carry with it some sort of value. Okay? Now, if we were in elementary school and I did this same experiment, that rule would already be checked off because they take it home, put it on the fridge, and it has a value, right? Now, for us, it's a little bit harder to justify, but the thing you create, if it has any sort of value, even sentimental value, you can check that off. Okay, so maybe not this drawing, but if you go home and create something that's not expected, that is new, and has some sort of value to somebody on earth, in my opinion, that's creativity. You're being creative by doing that. Okay? So everybody has that potential. How many think you're creative? Still no? How about some more influence? I'm going to show you just a few landscape designs that I've done in the past, and kind of share with you my process and philosophy behind it, because I believe that in order to truly develop something that is creative and new and original and has value to somebody, you have to throw away all those barriers like reality or what's possible, right? At least initially. I throw that out the window and I start drawing up unique diagrams and bubbles and shapes on a piece of paper that mean nothing to anybody else. And then eventually that forms into something that is buildable, realistic, functional. But none of that enters my mind at stage one. Stage one, what I'm thinking of is something off the wall entirely. So for this drawing, this shape right here, to me resembles a canyon. This one was built over next to the canyon, Falls, and I thought I'm going to incorporate that into my landscape. Now I can't physically build a canyon in their landscape. That's silly, right? So that's not, even if it was possible, it's not logical. But I bypassed that. I said, I don't care. I want a canyon in my landscape. And so I drew the shape, okay? Then later, I decided that that canyon shape had to be a concrete path. It could have been the way I laid out plants. It could have been a fence line. It could have been anything else, but I chose concrete path as the form that satisfied the idea of a canyon, right? So initially the canyon is just up in the air. You can't really do that in landscape. And then you bring it to reality, okay? Don't let reality stand in your way first. So I threw away that barrier and then got to this. That form is just a different concept. There with the round. And this one played more with the idea of water and movement and long circular strokes rather than the angle canyon. Okay. That happened to be the one that the client chose and liked more, and so that turned into a more detailed landscape drawing that I determined what plants could go in there and the actual forms and what size everything was and all that. So initially I didn't even think about that. That would have been a limitation to me if I already determined that every planter had to be 6 feet wide. That's just a limitation. Initially I have to think broader and then bring it back down to reality. Another landscape that I did was in Pocatello. This is my sister-in-law's house. And so, yes, pro bono labor, but this is back when I'm trying to get off my feet and just kind of do some work and get my name out there. And now all our neighbors have seen it, complimented her yard. And there's nothing like this in eastern Idaho, I guarantee. Nothing that looks just like that, or even close to it. Because the concept of a landscape design in most people's eyes is an anaconda shape around the edge of the house and around the fence line, and you add trees and shrubs to it. What happened here was this became a seat wall. This is pavers because they have 3 little boys and they'd run their bikes up to the front door, hop off of them, the bike would crash into the house, and they'd run inside and the bike would be sitting there on the stairs in front of it, any visitor's way, right? So basically this is a bike drop. They pull up, throw their bike to the side, and run up, and that happens. And also it gives the parents a place to sit and be outside watching the kids. This became a planter bed, and this remained turf. Whereas before I did this, it was all turf and a little 4-foot gap right in front of the home for the flowers. That's all there was. And on the back patio, we did the same thing. We just continued that circle. And this became a spot for a grill and a dining table and entertainment space. And around that, this is their garden space here, some raised planters and stepping stones. There's some plants there to get out to the grass area. And they were destroying their fence with the weed eater every time they mowed the lawn. So we added a planter to help alleviate that. But all you still using just concentric circles. Really simple forms, but really hard to get the sizes of the planters just right and the size of the spaces organized just right. That's why they're kind of offset a little bit just to get those spaces to work out. So initially, I just had a clear sheet of paper set on top of their house, and I drove circles until I got something that I liked. Then I put another sheet on, and then I refined that and made something that worked a little better. And I add another sheet, and I start to determine where walkways and spaces, they start to turn into something real. And then I draw it in AutoCAD so somebody else can build. So that's my process, and how I go about designing and getting something that is creative but also functional and realistic. Okay? So in landscape design, we don't have the luxury like painters do, where they just create whatever they want. My designs have to satisfy clients and also have to work for years, right? So you do eventually have to bring things back to reality, and this is how I do it. And that tends to sell pretty well with clients. They like the idea of having something different than their neighbors and different than the rest of the neighborhood. And so I hope that helps. I also have a video for you. But before we show that video, it's a 15-minute video. So I'll take 5 minutes of just some questions initially, and then if some of you have to go right at one, you're welcome to go. And those that can stay, we can do a little tour around the greenhouse and look around a little. Okay? So for 5 minutes, you got any questions for me that you want to answer? In terms of design? Or anything horticulture related, I guess.
Okay, I do.
Yeah.
What's a good medium bush do you like to incorporate into your landscape? You know, you have your
Like a
trees, and then your
medium-sized
second layer, is a little bit so big, maybe. Any favorites?
Favorites?
Yeah.
It always depends on the situation. Like the first drawing I showed you, they had a lot of deer problem with deer coming in and eating away at their aspens and trumping over everything. So I had to choose a lot of resistant plants that would satisfy that requirement, right? Whereas in other landscapes, I don't care because there's no deer to care about. It also matters if you're putting it on an edge or trying to create a screen of something. Like if you're trying to screen out an AC unit, you want a medium-sized shrub to do that. I tend to like something a little thicker, like boxwood or something. But if you're just screening like along a fence line or something like that, I like dogwoods. And because they come in various colors and they carry with them winter interest. So the yellow and red stems carry with them some nice winter interest.
So the needs of the homeowner, I mean, if they want a barbecue area, they need someplace for their pumpkin pile, vegetable garden. You do the design first and then put their needs into where it can go.
And if my design or my original idea doesn't fit their need, they change it. That means I'm wrong. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, if my concept or general idea doesn't fit in the needs of the family, that doesn't mean it doesn't work out.
Landscape measure, we just put a 6 points that you can go away. Circular, triangle,
I think that's too limited to try to give yourself. Like, are you saying every design should have?
I heard some expert mention this this landscape education, to try to incorporate these
Yeah, I mean, I don't use that as my guidelines, But if you think about it, if you're adding any evergreens in there, you've got your triangle shapes, and if you do any curves, you've got some of that in there. If you add any pavers or hardscape, you've got some squares in there. So I mean, if you're looking to add shapes, then you pretty much already do that anyway, or should. Yeah.
So you look at using design as an opportunity to educate the client, for example, rather than just a single purpose tree, a tree that has multi-purposes.
Absolutely.
Shade, food, nitrogen fixation, whatever. Okay?
Yeah, exactly. And if you look at those drawings that I did, they did serve that function, you know, like on this house here, let's see, this is the south side, so these help provide a little shade on the house to conserve energy. But yet they're multi-stand and they add value for just sitting in that area. This is a fruit tree here and a pear here. So they're more than just a tree in the corner. It's providing food. So yeah, I mean, I try to do that wherever possible as well. And when we're doing something like water-wise landscaping, or if they say I want low maintenance, I choose plants that resemble that, and I show them pictures of it first to make sure they really want that. And say, you know, here's some plants that you would use for low maintenance landscape, and what I would suggest installing, is that something you really, is that what you're looking for? And sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no. Sometimes it's more, no, I want azaleas, and I want color, and I want pop, and those are higher maintenance. So, yeah.
Have you ever done anything with an annual kind of landscape?
For annual, no one's asked me for it, but I've been intrigued by it. Doing a full landscape just out of like making your whole landscape your garden rather than a box or a space as your garden. Right? I've always liked that idea of incorporating. You know, you grow tomatoes wherever is best on your property, and you grow. I mean, you just choose the best spot for the plant and grow it as your landscape. I think it's great, but then you also have the negative side of winter, and it really doesn't look good if you have all annuals kind of scattered around. So I would try to mix it with something that does last in there, and if you try to mix up that landscape, it's something I want to try. I just haven't found a client that is on board with me to do that. Yeah. Has to be someone real interested in gardening and not just in one big plant bed.
Because we have to find out, because we didn't have some
The
spots.
space.
And so I would have to spot it and stuff.
Yeah.
Carrots in front of the
But because some of you still think you're not creative, I'm going to show you this video. Because it's a little training video that I gave this to some sixth graders. And they all came out of there smiling, and I can draw now! And they thought it was the coolest thing ever. So I'm going to show it to you, not that I treat you like sixth graders. But if you think you can't draw, if you think you're not creative, I'm going to show you this really simple video. Some of it's sped up, but others are slowed down. And then I do a voiceover on it to explain some of the things I'm doing with the pen, okay? So I'm not even going to speak, I'm just going to let you watch it. And my voice will come over there, and you'll see when I'm talking, that's usually the point where I'm actual speed, okay? When I'm not talking and there's just music, it's faster. Okay, so that's how I make a 1 hour drawing session into a 15-minute video.
First thing you ought to know about sketching is that your lines are okay to overlap. There's no need to match them up perfectly. Another thing about lines, who cares if they're straight? We've been trying way too hard for too long to draw straight lines. Since when can anyone draw a straight line on the first try anyway? I sure can't. So all we have to do is go over the same line again and again until we get it right. Then just hide the mistakes with a little texture, and we'll just call the rest character. To give your lines even more character, take a pause or hesitate a bit and let the ink bleed a little. And finally, don't forget your professional dot. That's right, it's a dot at the end of the line, and it's what makes every sketch sketchy. So to start off, start by holding your pen very loose. So loose it could fall out of your hands at any moment. Just let it rest in your fingers and relax. Oh yes, and when you want to draw a tree, just start scribbling. Scribble away until you come up with something that resembles a tree shape. Then add some more scribbles and some more scribbles until it looks even more like a tree. And oh yeah, it's not really a tree until we've added a trunk. So add some lines here, and there's a trunk. Now it looks like a tree, right? And trees, well, they have a little shadow on them, right? So let's add some shadows by simply hatching the underside of the tree and one side. I just use angular lines perpendicular to one another to make shadows. And some on the trunk. And no tree just grows out of thin air. So let's give it a base with a little grass or something. And why not a horizon line in the background to give us some context. To start your rendering, and to do it outside the lines, flip your sheet over and start off with a very light base color. Notice how I just color wherever I want? Yeah, that's how you do it. Pick another shade darker while the paper's still wet, and let's add some more value. I add this in somewhat of a similar broad angular strokes and a few dots and blotches here and there, which I'll do with every color from here on out. Then you want to grab some green, because trees aren't brown, at least the pretty ones in pictures are not brown. So let's make this tree pretty by adding some green, and while the paper's still wet, this color blends pretty well with the base colors below it, and add a few more blotches. Then we'll go one shade darker with another green, again just adding a gradient of value from our base color, which was lighter, and we move to darker colors as we go along. Lighter colors allow you to add value as you go. If we started off with a dark green, it would be really hard to add any light colors later on. So we start light and work our way to the dark colors. And the dark colors are mostly in the shadows and underside of the tree. So we'll add a few there, and dot and speckle and do some squigglies and just scribble away like you have not a care in the world. Then I come in with a bright color, something like pink, purple, orange, something bright to offset all the green and buff that's going on. But we don't want to add too much of it. But then I come back in with the buff color and sort of blend in that pink so they're not just dots, that they sort of blend in with the rest of the leaves and foliage of the tree. And now all those colors which are still wet can be blended together by just broad strokes over top of the whole thing. how does it look?